Welcome everyone, this is Saji Hussain. I'm the SE Director for the Federal team, and today I thought I would go through the first steps after you've installed the Infinistream console. So you'll notice a couple of icons here. The first one is the Infinistream console. The second one is going to be your intelligence console. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first one. The Infinistream console is what you're going to use to connect directly to an Infinistream, or in this case, connect to a capture file. So first things first, let's take a look at the layout of the screen. I've got my resolution set to a fairly high, I believe 12 something by 10 something. In the event that you have a lower resolution, you might have this window chopped up a little bit. So all you have to do is just resize it and double click it and then maximize it. It's very easy. So if you see that, if you don't see this little navigation time grabber here where the mouse pointer is, then you should just go ahead and resize and then double click, and that'll maximize it so you can see everything. But ideally this is the resolution you should be at. Now on the left hand side you'll see a couple of options. You're going to see your navigation system here, and this is where you can either connect directly to an Infinistream or you can open up a file. So to connect to an Infinistream, just double click here where it says capture engines, and then you would be instructed to put in your IP address, at the data mining port, if it's something other than the standard one. And you also have the option here to name it. So instead of just showing up as an IP address, you can call it, Infinistream 3 headquarters data center, for example. Something that makes sense to you. But today, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to go straight to a file. So you can double click here where it says Files, and then navigate yourself to where you have a capture file. I have one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I've already opened it up, so it'll stay in memory, and that's what you see right here, the first option. So all I'm going to do to actually take a look at the packets inside it is I'm going to double click it, and you'll notice at the bottom it starts analyzing, it starts going through all of the packets. This particular file that I have is about 1 gigabyte in size. So it's going to go through and actually start analyzing and put together a bunch of statistics for us in this window. And I mean, at this point, we're not going to be actually looking at the physical packets. We're going to be at a much higher level so that we can very easily navigate and filter our ways down to packets of interest. Otherwise, there just might be just a tremendous amount of data. Okay, so now that we're done looking or analyzing the packets, we've got the statistical information. Up at the top, you're going to see your timeline, okay? And this is what I was talking about, the time grabber. You should be able to grab it and go back in time like this to a point of interest. Up at the top, you'll have a drop-down window that shows you the length of time that appears in this timeline here. So for example, now I'm looking at a 20-minute window. I can go to a smaller time slice. I'm looking at a 4-minute window in this case, or I can go out to, let's say, maybe 2 days. And now what you're going to see is that the packets only go back a certain amount of time. So 2 days might be a little bit too much. If let's say 1 day, or 8 hours, you can see exactly how far back in time these packets go. Okay, if you're connected to a live Infinistream, you'll see these obviously all the way until the end of that disk array. And since it's a circular disk array, you're always going to see some sort of packets. Okay, so but in this case, let's go to a reasonable time slice here. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and go back. Let's say let's get to a bigger time slice. Let's go to 1 hour so we can find some peaks. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in this 3-minute window here, and I'm going to refresh, click on the refresh button down at the bottom, and now I can see all of my statistics for that 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I see errors, if any, and you should not see errors, but I see IP addresses. Okay, and you can sort on any one of these columns. So for example, total number of packets, total number of bytes, or rates, for example, packets per second, bytes per second. And we have customizable columns here too, so if you wanted to add something else, let's say for example, if you wanted to add bits per second, so you can add that column as well. Okay, and now I'm just going to go through some of the more interesting tabs here. These are the ones that come out by default when you install it. There's a tab that shows you all the ports, network information, MAC addresses, destinations, conversation pairs. So you see IP address A, IP address B, more advanced information, VLAN ID information, and of course, all the way at the end, you have the ability to customize and create your own special tabs. So, oops, I'll create my own tab. Okay, and once you do that, then you can come here and start picking what elements you want here. So for example, I have a very small list of options for, so I'm going to pick, let's say, IP address. And you'll notice that if I go and pick the second column here, I'm doing a left click, by the way. If I click on here, now I have even more available to me, and that's because it's based on the fact that I already selected IP address here in the first column. So creating your own custom tabs is very easy to do, but let's stick with some basic stuff here, and let's say, well, all right, here's a couple of IP addresses, and they obviously have they consume a lot of the traffic. So why don't I go ahead and click on 1, 2, and 3 of these IP addresses, okay? And now what I can do is up at the top, I can click on this Selected Statistics tab, and it's actually going to run analysis only against those 3 IP addresses. Okay, and then I'm going to see a graph up here at the top that shows me that information. And I can change the style of the graph here, by the way. So instead of solids, I can have lines. Sometimes it's a lot easier to see when you have in this case, like the gray line dipping below the red line. Okay, so I can say now, for example, those 3 IP addresses, and I can refresh down at the bottom, and again it analyzes all of the information. It still shows me all the other IP addresses down here at the bottom, but the graph only represents those 3 IP addresses. And now let's go into the actual frame by frame packet analysis. So what I've done is that these 3 checkboxes here represent the filter that I'm going to create. So I have 2 options. I can, at the bottom right, you can see I have the intelligence and expert options, and by clicking on those, you'll be able to get to the next level of analysis. Intelligence is actually going to analyze the packets for known applications and then performance measurements within those applications. And expert takes us to the traditional frame by frame packet analysis. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop here so that we have small video sizes, and then the next clip that you're going to see will start from here, and that way we'll be able to branch off. We'll do one session with the expert and another session with intelligence. Thanks, and see you guys soon.